Today we're going to be taking a deep dive on NUMBANI and how I play it as a top 500 Meta player. Before we get started, make sure to like the video if you want to see more videos like this, and let me know which map you want to see next below in the comments. Now this is a long form video meant for educational purposes, so make sure you got something nearby to take some notes down, because I go over several different topics over the next 30 minutes. Now I like that we're starting on defense here too, so especially on defense, there's first point's kind of like, I would say, in my opinion, probably the strongest point that May can play, depending on what the enemy team is running, and what you're running, obviously. If they're running a flying comp, that takes coast, makes May a little bit more vulnerable. I like to start off top right. Do a little jump here. I like to start off top right here for literally one specific reason, is that this high ground is so important for teams that are attacking to secure. If you give this up for free, it's not really going to be, it's going to make it much easier for attacking teams to capture this point, just because it provides so much value. A lot of cover here. You can pressure everybody here, and playing this high ground doesn't really offer too much cover, except for back here, which is basically just a tiny doorway, which is super easy to body block, to pressure. That's why you see a lot of Ana's play back there, and then Winston's will dive up there, and Ana basically like dies 24/7 because there's nobody else there. Now, like I said, this is by default. It's going to depend on what you're running here. But if you're running a brawl composition with like a Reinhardt or a Ramatra, this is great because your Ramatra can help push into this room here. If you're running a dive comp, your Monkey is usually going to start off over here, or Diva or Ball or whatever. But the nice thing is that they can always help you out over here. So you're very static. So this is where you're going to get the most value playing as a Mei player. All right. So now we're going to talk about as the attackers come in. Now they've got like four-ish different ways to go here. Attackers can push high ground up here, which is probably the most common one you're going to see, especially with dive. Dive is a very popular with like Winston. Diving is really good. So you're going to see them running main typically. All right. Now if they push up here, you can get value with your wall. This whole entire area right here, and this is where I love to cut out people. For example, if Winston dives up, which is you'll see them pressure right here, and they start shooting right here, what I'll do is place a wall right behind him right here, and that cuts them off from one healing. It prevents them from backing up and forces them to drop over here, which is in the line of sight for the rest of your team. And either that or jump straight up and try to get out. Now, 9 times out of 10, we typically end up killing the Winston or whatever, Diva or whatever, before they're able to get out, which is great. Super good value. Now, even if they play a little bit more passively, like let's say back here, like you can call it out, say, hey, I'm going to wall off the Winston, wall it here. Your team can do the same thing. Push that corner, do the same exact thing. This is where it's really good. You got plenty of cover here if their team's playing up here. You can chill on this high ground and just get plenty of value over here. And then once they're up here, you just start poking. If they're playing on main, let's say they're walking down main as like they're taking high ground. Or if they're, for some reason, playing main, you literally just wait here. You know, poke them down as they're coming up. Poke them down, poke them down, poke them down. And the moment the tank or whatever static hero that's easy to wall off and secure kills on, whether it's Brig or Ana or any like static tanks or other DPS like Cassidy, another Mei perhaps, or a Reaper, anybody that doesn't have like vertical mobility to get out of your wall very easily, that's when you do a little vertical wall, press your wall twice, do a vertical wall, like right when they get here. Or even earlier, you can do it earlier too. If they're back here, wall them out here, pressure them, and then you just kill them. Call it out, boom, there you go. They can't get out, or it's going to be really hard to rotate around that to get them in there. Super easy values. So being here already denies the team from getting easy pushes from main and high ground. Now, obviously probably the biggest value you can get is if you're running a brawl comp here, and they decide to push up main, right? Main up here through here. So if the attackers are pushing here, you can always poke for a little bit. I wouldn't spend too much time here, though. Very easy to get picked. Let them push up to here, right? Now, you're going to be playing here. The enemies are typically right here, trying to poke you guys out before they push in, which is fine. You can poke them. You can let them poke whatever. Your main priority is to land a fat wall to separate their team and to secure kills. So if they're pushing in through here, you really can wall anybody, if it's Winston or whatever. So let's say their team is pushing up. Their tank pushes up. You can wall them even if they're here. They don't have to be all the way out here before you hit a wall. Most people are going to wall it like this, get the wall, and then kill whatever comes out. You can wall it early. So like, let's say they're pushing up and like poking, and they don't really see you. They see you poking a little bit. You go for the wall right here, wall them in on steps. Your team can absolutely decimate them in that stairwell as well. So you're really holding this. I do recommend using your left click here mainly because it reaches just about all the way to the wall there. So anybody that's peeking, you're going to be getting collateral damage as they try to push up through that choke. So peek, peek, go for the right clicks. But when you see multiple people, use that left click pressure them. It slows them down, makes it harder to push through. And again, jiggle peek that whole time. So again, you're making it unpredictable about where you're at and what your hitbox is. And when I say jiggle peek, I don't mean do this. This is predictable. This is a very predictable jiggle peek. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Unpredictable is peek, back, peek. And it's kind of just spamming A and D a bunch. And just being unpredictable with when you peek. So it's going to make it harder for them to line up headshots and secure those kills. All right. Like I said, when they push through, boom, land that wall, let your team push them through, bam. They're going to try to break the wall, but again, you might be able to get a pick. The best place for you to push as a team when they're playing a Mei is Coast. Like running a dive, Pharah, Mercy, Echo, whatever. Mei's going to get very little value here because you can't really wall anybody out. The only time you might be able to wall somebody out is if they push here, and you can wall them here and drop on them as a team. And the fourth way they can go is under. But for teams, this is really easy. If you hear them going under, you can either choose to do two things. A, play high ground, which is probably the safest option here. So if you hear them going under or somebody calls out under, you can rotate from back there over to here, all right? And then you can just spam him here, shoot him here, and then wall him. Still, anybody that comes through here, cut him out, wall him. Bada bam. You're still safe on the high ground. You don't got to do anything. Your team can help you out. You can still pressure. You don't have to drop and waste your life. Or, right? Or if they're playing safer, you drop here. You can wall them here if you want, or again, same thing that we did on high ground. If they're playing a little bit more passive, you can push up here, get a wall, pressure them here as well. So it's the same thing. So essentially with Mei on this point, playing defensively, you really can deny like most alleyways except for Coast. Coast is probably your weakest point here. Plays Mei. All right. Which is very good for walls. Now, that's only playing one position. Now, depending on your comp, you might need to play over here, which again, that's also a really good way to get to high ground if you need to very quickly to the other side. If you're playing over here, which isn't too bad, you can get the same kind of value that you got before. Let's say Winston like dives into here, you can still wall, and then you can left click that person, help your team get to secure the kills. You're probably going to play over here if you're investing more in protecting your backline. Instead of denying high ground. So if you're more concerned about protecting your supports or maybe another DPS like Tor, Bastion, or whatever, you're going to play here to protect them a little bit more. But even there, you get value from pressuring that too with them. So you can get a wall here to pressure out damage. That's just mitigating damage. Or if you need to, you can always jump on here and still get a wall when they push out to separate them as they come through. Okay. Outside of that, this isn't really too great. The only nice thing is if you get pressured and you're forced to drop, you're dropping back here, which is really good, which is a lot safer for you to do. Playing here, dropping here, and then playing here. It's going to be much easier for your supports. And instead, if you get overwhelmed up here, you don't really have much options except for to push back, which again, is still not going to be great for you, or to drop here, which is on point, which has sidelines here. So really, if you're investing up here, it really is like all right, I got to play here and I got to live here. Or else if I get pushed, like, I'm going to push and I'm going to rotate to point and just play point. Maybe go back here as well. But again, the rotations are just as important as the plays. Let's say they invest, they break your wall, you're out of your cryo, you're back here and you need to rotate. Rotate here, while you're spamming. Just keep backing up, go into this room, you can play here. Now you have cover again. And the important thing is to live. Do whatever you got to do to live. Get value, but don't just like throw your body at the team thinking that you need to like stop them from doing something. If they're overwhelming you and you feel like you need to back up, back the heck up, dude. Play to fight another day. Play to fight the next regroup. Your goal is to live, like to get value, to deny, but also live as much as possible. So if you see that they're pushing him and you're like, all right, I'm not gonna be able to hold this with what I got, back it up, play here. If they keep pushing you, go back, use your wall to get out, stop them from chasing, rotate, grab a mini. Let's say you want to hold on to your cryo, you grab your mini, you rotate, you regroup with your supports, and all of a sudden their team's now on the low ground right here, and your team is just regrouped and you're about to push into the point again, which is great, because then you can do this, you can wall them out, whatever. Having the enemy on the low ground on payload is going to be much better than all of them being up on high ground stuff. So that's what I mean is like live. If you're living, if you're kiting, if you're pulling people away from the fight, you're still getting value. So even if you're holding this stuff, dude, live. All right. So that's pretty much it on first point. There's obviously some other scenarios, but again, your wall is your biggest ally. Your wall is going to be the thing that saves you. It's going to be the thing that gets you picks. It's going to like secure, like separating enemies and getting picks. It's going to be the thing that mitigates damage and keeping your team from dying. It's going to be the thing that pressures people to use abilities to get away from dying, which then your team can roll through. So again, the wall is the most important thing here. Yeah, a lot of players do that. Dangle said, I always get this weird impulse to go out in a blaze of glory instead of just running away. And a lot of people lose a lot of value because of that. I do that too sometimes. There's days when I'm playing very poorly, or typically the days where I'm dying a lot and not doing proper rotations, you know, and living. That's the thing. You know, you get value as much as you can, especially on defense. Get as much value as you can. The moment that you're not able to get value and you're risking your life, rotate out of it. Get away, create distance, use your wall to create distance. Take corners, play corners, cut out sight lines, right, from people that are shooting you. All that good stuff. All right. So, now again, this is just the generic stuff. I'm saying, like, typically, like, probably 80% or more is what happens on these maps. So, let's say you cap that, all right? Depending on how you guys are playing, you're either going to play up at the corner. If you're running a more brawl comp, if you're running something that does much better at playing close, you're going to play up here because it has less sight lines, less long-distance sight lines for, like, widows, soldiers, you know, Hanzos to get like easy value without being able to be rushed onto. So you're probably gonna play a little bit closer. Depends on what your team's doing. You can play this whole corner here with tanks. So if tanks will usually play like this, right? Let's say you're a Zarya, all right? You're beaming people down. You're playing this corner, jiggle peeking. All right, that entire time they're doing that, you can just play here, wall them off, boom. Now they're stuck here. They're stuck in this wall. They have to rotate out, and that entire time they're taking fire. So usually pretty easy picks there. They're going to try to back up first. They're going to realize, oh no, I've been walled. Then they're going to go left, and by then it's already too late. You know, you can always wall here. If you're going through here, typically they're just going to play this as much as possible. So again, if you're playing brawl up here, now this is going to all depend on your tank. Don't, just because I say play brawl here doesn't mean play brawl here. You know, it doesn't mean you walk up here no matter what and play this. This is all going to depend on what your team's doing, especially your tank. Where your tank's playing, what kind of tank you're playing, whether they can do that. If you're running a Winston, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, right? To play brawl up here. On defense, is it better to drain the clock if last alive or die faster to reset? It's going to depend. If you're, I say usually, if you're denying payload, I mean, I'd probably say 99% of the time, if you're contesting the point or payload, just live as long as you can. I mean, worst case scenario, like at that point, it's just you are draining the clock as much as you can. At that point, your team, like if your team's cool, they're just gonna like chill like a couple more seconds, right, before they regroup. So now I usually just contest. I think as a general rule of thumb, if you're on the payload, if you're not on the payload, die as quick as you can, right? Because you're not getting any value, and you're just making it longer of a regroup. So, all right, let's say you use this. They push through. You guys are forced to back up, right? Our next position is going to be here against Bus. This is our next like large cover that we can play. This isn't really too reliable because the moment they take this, you really don't have much cover to go behind. So you really, this second corner right here is going to be kind of where you play. So with you, this is great because there's a lot of doorways to manage. Now, you can either play on the ground, which is not a bad option. You can also start on high ground, which is also where you can get some value. You can deny people coming up on the high ground, like a soldier, to get like easy flanks on your team from playing up here. And you can still get value from walling people off. Now, the only downside is that you can't really pressure people with left click from up here too easily. So if you're trying to go for that, like pressuring with the left click, going for like big brawly moments, you're going to just start off on the ground. If you're playing more defensively, you're going to start up here. Just play some walls here to cut off people. Now, again, if you're starting high ground, you always have the option to drop. If you're starting low ground, you don't always have the option to get back up onto the high ground. So I say usually it's good to opt into starting on the high ground. Let's say you go for a brawl and you're like, oh shit, well, I'm not going to get much value on here. You can always just drop and then go. So it's up to you. So as they push through, let's say you're playing on the low ground here. All right, you can always deny people by walling them off as they push out. A lot of people underestimate the power of vertical walls on higher locations. All right, you have a soldier pushing out. All right, you could do this. You could wall him off, right? Do a regular wall him off, mitigate the damage that he's probably just going to walk around and shoot. Or let's say he pushes out to here. He pushed out from here. Or instead, you think one step ahead. You think, okay, well, he's going to be out here, but he's going to retreat back to here, probably, right? So he pushes out here. Instead of doing that, I do a vertical wall. Press your button twice. and then wall him off. Now he's cut off. He can't go in there. If you have anybody to pressure him, that man's going to die, right? Because you're going to be able to shoot him that entire time. Even if he crouches, you'll be able to see his head. So that man's probably going to die. His only option is maybe to get out this way. But even then, you still have sight lines to kill him. So this is going to pressure him to move. This is what I mean by using this wall. Get creative with your walls here. The reason I love NUMBANI so much is that there's so many creative ways to use wall here. That you can just cut people off, force people around. If they go in here, even if they push up here, wall them in. Like, let's say they dove your support on the high ground, wall off the tank here. Now, all of a sudden, they're backing up into a wall. They don't know what to do, and you kill their tank. Boom. Easy money, right? Let's say they're going in here, pressuring in here. You can always wall the doorways. You can let them peek a little bit. Like wait for them to go around, look for their shots, and then go in. Now, this is a lot of like specific scenarios, but my point is that like you have so many options to use wall. When you're playing NUMBANI, especially NUMBANI, most of your value is gonna be coming from the wall placements. All right, so you need to be thinking ahead of whatever is going on, but also reacting to this situation. All right. So I'm just gonna create a hypothetical. Let's say they're running a pretty standard comp, like let's say OWL, Overwatch League. They're running Lucio, Kiriko, Winston, Tracer, and what's the other one? Reaper or whatever other DP, Cast, Sojourn, I don't know, whatever they're running. Okay. They're probably going to be diving your backline. All right. Let's say your supports are playing back here, right? Which is also another spot where a lot of supports play. Not a great spot, but not a terrible spot either. Playing here or playing the truck. All right. So you're playing here. Winston comes up. All right. Winston dives in. Tracer dives in as well to go on your backline. All right. The question is, what can you do? What can you do for your team that's going to get you value? All right. So they dive in. Your supports are now backing up because they just pressured on this. Obviously, you can wall them off. Split up the Winston and the Tracer that are pressuring your support, so they're not taking as much damage. Give them an opportunity to get out alive, right, or to contest a point. Or B, you go in his bay and pressure their backline, right? You respond to the situation that you wall behind their Lucio or their Kiriko, spray the Kiriko, force the Kiriko to jump over to their other the Winston and the Tracer, and then you can now kill the Kiriko. This is where the wall is coming into handy, is that using the pressure where Kiriko can't back up, she has to jump forward, right? She can't just back around a corner. She has to use her ability to jump to her team, which is going to be in the fight, and now Kiriko is going to be vulnerable, and that's how you get your value. So again, it's all coming down to walls. I will say like 75% of maps are really going to come down to wall placement, but NUMBANI especially, huge wall importance for this. All right, let's say they cap second, all right? They've capped second. They're coming in through third, baby. They're coming in through third, all right? You got this whole hallway to wall, right? Make sure to play corners, so you only give them one option to move. You can also add a little bit of an angle to it to make it even harder for them to get out on this whole corner. You can wall them on this entire area right here. Boom, this entire area is just fantastic for it, okay? Especially when tanks are peeking this corner. Boom, wall it. Now they're stuck. Got them. Huge. As you're backing up, next corner, our next like popular corner to play here, you're playing here, you can do the same thing on this corner right here, all the way around here. Being able to separate tanks or like immobile people. You see somebody going up steps, boom, you can throw a wall in there to deny them from using the steps, and now they're in a freaking death box as your team's spamming them out there, which will probably result in a kill for the most part. As you're backing up here, say the end of here, you can always wall people out that are peeking here. If they're playing inside here, you can even get aggressive, wall them up real quick. Maybe get a secure kill. You'll see a lot of Hanzo players playing here, a lot of Cassidy players playing here. Little risky for you to 1v1 them, but still definitely doable. You'll rarely see people go up here, but you can do the same thing with wall. You can wall them off for mitigation. You can wall them out right here if they're peeking. If they're going coast, all the way here, let's say they push up here, you can wall anywhere around here, especially here. Boom. Now all of a sudden you've created it to where they're trying to get out. Soldier's trying to get out. Boom. You can 1v1 that soldier pretty easy. Land the left click. So, as far as defense goes, that's kind of it, man. It's all about wall placement, creating pressure on people as they push through here. You really can pressure a lot of people into making mistakes. Super easy. Once you start looking at a game, especially as a Mei player, once you start looking at the game as how can I punish the team with my wall, all of a sudden you start to realize how shitty everyone is at positioning, and you're like, oh my god, these are free wins. That's the top of mind for me whenever I'm playing is where am I going to use wall? How am I going to use it in response to certain situations? Nice sweater. Thank you. Thank you. All right, chat. Let's talk about attack. All right. Attack, attack, attack. Okay, so we come from spawn. We're now on attack. All right, so we're going to go over here. Typically, you'll have some DPS up here spamming you. Okay, if you want, you can always wall it up here just to give your team like some opportunity to get through without taking damage. That's a great usage of wall. One, to mitigate damage, but like two, to make sure that your team gets across without any deaths. The nice thing is, by the time you guys get to where you're going, whether it's here or here or here or over here, you're going to have another wall ready to go, right? Doesn't take that long. So for example, that's why I do this so often is I push through, see them poking, I'll probably take a shot or two, but then I go, boom, drop that, and then walk it, right? Walk it, walk it, walk it, leave that up. Cool, we have 7 seconds. All right, so now we're chilling here. We're waiting, let's say we're pushing high ground, all right? They're gonna be spamming the heck out of this hallway. Now, you have one option. More two options. This is a little risky for you. I usually say wait for your tank to push up, take most of the damage, or else you're gonna get logged by Hanzo, Widow, Junkrat spam, whatever it is. But let's say you guys are committed to pushing this out. You can either wall it first, all right, to bait out a lot of the damage, but I wouldn't really recommend doing that. Or you can push up with your tank, so let your tank push first, and then immediately push up and wall it. Now, this is going to cut off probably the damage from people playing up here, not going to cut off the damage from people playing up here. It's the least risky one because you get a wall up quick, and it denies usually about half their team from getting value. Or you do a vertical wall it here so you guys can push and aggress on the enemy team. Now, this is going to all depend on what they're playing, what kind of DPS they're playing. If they're running a soldier and a Cassidy, they're both playing over here. Obviously, we're going to do a vertical wall to block that off while we run down their front line. All right. Let's say now you guys have secured top, right? So you've secured top. Let's say the tank is pushed back. They're now on point. They're chilling here. All right. Now, you as a Mei player, you're going to stay up here as long as you can. Play this little corner here, or you can chill up here if you want. But again, you're going to be poking people on the high ground over there, playing here. If you want, you can use your wall from this distance. Really, really good if you're running a dive composition, or just making it easy to force people to drop. So let's say there's Cassie and a soldier. Soldier's playing over here. Cassie's playing over here. All right. I might wall the soldier here. Okay. Force him to stay right here. He's not going to run towards you. He's going to drop, right? So right there, you just force somebody off high ground with Mei wall from that distance. You just force somebody to drop, right? Which is huge for you because now you have high ground control, right? They're going to be playing down there. Super easy for you to get kills here. It's going to be much harder for them to push in. You can do that over here. You can do that over here. You can throw it all the way over here. So let's say an Anna's over there. She pushes out from that corner. Boom. You throw the wall up. She's now stuck, right? Out there. She can't rotate past that wall. So now she's stuck. You guys get a kill on the Anna, right? Now, this is typically what happens in games. This is going to vary by elo on what people actually do. This is probably the standard route you're going to take from Mei. You can also do, you can play under, which is going to be a little bit weird. And that's going to be more situational based. I typically don't recommend going this way as Mei because you don't really get much advantage from taking this area. But a lot of people think running main with Mei is a terrible option. All right. And here's why. I kind of love doing it. All right. One, let's say they're playing up here and up here. All right. They're split or they're not split. It doesn't really matter. All right. Let's say they're playing up here. Okay, they're poking you guys down on main. All right, you're running it down. What you can do, wall this off, mitigate damage, give your team time to play all the way down here, push up, and then you guys are contesting point. You're gonna force them on their team to drop down. The moment they drop down, you play in here, right? So now you're not getting poked down from this team. You have cover from this high ground over here, and if somebody chooses to pressure you, you can go all the way to the mega in here and play this room. Which again, you have a wall to separate them and kill them if they choose to push you into there. All right, that's not a bad option. Not my favorite one, though. My favorite one is running because you're, again, remember, attackers on this map are going to typically, like I said, typically this is going to depend on elo, but mostly what I see is dive. You're going to be running a Winston, all right? So you can run main with your Winston, and this is why I love doing this, okay? Play this corner. Most of the supports are going to be playing over here. You might have one person over here, but again, you should be able to pressure him to stop. Your Winston's going to dive on a support or a DPS over here or something. What you can do is the same thing you did on high ground. Use a vertical wall. Again, press it twice. Okay. You can get this ready to go before you even fire, right? If no one's pressuring here, just get it ready. Okay, Winston's chilling. He's like, okay, you see Winston dive up? Immediately, all right, wall this window. Okay. You've now cut the Ana out from, or whatever person is getting from that, getting back to that room. Okay. Or if they're not playing here, let's say they're playing up a little bit more, you do the same thing, all right? You can either split them in half. Let's say the whole team's playing up here. So you got like, you know, this many people playing up here. Throw this up, whatever side your Winston, you can just literally throw it up. Whatever side your Winston goes, he's now having to deal with half the people he would have had to deal with before, right? For whatever time he's diving. So as long as the ball stays up. So he now has to deal with half the amount of people. That means people are going to be split off from support. They're going to be split off from mitigation abilities. They're going to be split off from other DPS pressuring the people. Your Winston's going to be safer. And it's just going to be way easier to get kills. And then you as Mei, after you do that, you're just poking down. And then while you're doing that, you can rotate to point. You start capping point while your Winston's doing your thing. Then you can just like do the same thing over and over again. Just keep like walling them off, splitting them up, playing under them, forcing them to drop. When they drop, that's when you get your value, you know? So a little bit interesting. I rarely see other Mei players doing that on NUMBANI. And I will say that is probably one of the most underestimated things that you can do. I always see Meis run up here, which is fine. It's whatever. But if you're running dive, I implore you, dude, run main, support your monkey by splitting off the enemy team to make it easier to get kills and to keep your monkey alive at the same time. So really easy to get value there. All right, so let's say you cap second or first. I mean, you guys are running through here. All right, it's gonna be the same thing. You're gonna chill here. You're gonna wait for the tank. It's gonna be a little bit harder. The tanks are usually gonna play right here. If they're more aggressive, you can do the same thing. Wall forward, pressure the tank. If they push into you, right, you do the same thing. Wall them here at this corner. Wall them here at this corner, whichever one, as they push up. A little bit risky though if they're playing aggressive. As you guys get them on the run, they're gonna roll back to here. You can go for stagger kills. Wall them all across here. Remember, you're looking for one person. If you can wall off one person, usually results in the most like confirmed kills. So you're looking for one person that is static, somebody that doesn't have abilities to get out, unless you're using it to force his abilities. For example, in Orisa, right? Orisa's backing up. You wall off the Orisa, you start spraying her. That Orisa, I guarantee you, is going to use her Fortify and her Spin to get out of there. All right? Then what happens when she gets out of there, she's now down her abilities and super freaking vulnerable. And that's when you guys just keep rolling through and you kill her, right? Super easy. Same thing here. You can wall if they're playing here. If they're playing high ground, you can do the same thing with your wall. Split them up. Let's say the soldier's up here.
Be careful.
He's going to be retreating back to there where the mini is. Wall him out here. Bada bing, bada boom. Your Winston dives him. You kill him. Easy money right there. You don't have to do anything. You just got to wall it, dude. You just got to create that opportunity for your tank to dive and kill it. Let's say people are rotating through here, trying to get an angle on your team. So they push through. Same thing. Wall. Come wall here. Come wall here. Whatever it is. It's always wall first, right? Not always, but like most of the time, wall first, then pressure. If you're going for those stagger kills. And as you guys push up, people are rotating back. You can wall all along here to get stagger kills. You can play this corner up here, which is usually what we'll be playing. By the time you take this corner, most people are going to be playing back here, right? Which is the next corner. You can even get a wall here from this distance. So let's say Zarya's playing that corner right there. You know, and you're like, okay, all right, well, I'm going to wall off the Zarya. Like, team, all right, get ready. I'm going to wall off the Zarya. We're going to push her. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Boom. Walled it off. Zarya now stuck right here in the bush. Okay, chilling out. She's like, oh, shit. Winston's diving you. Boom. By the time you force out her bubbles, you roll her over, you kill her. Same thing goes for Ramatra. His down his punch. You can go for Winston, too. If Winston's stuck here, he has to jump directly up, right, to get out. And if he has to jump directly up, where's he landing? Right here. So you guys just kill him. So even if you wall off a Winston who can jump over your wall, if you wall it tight enough, he's not going to be able to jump back to his team. He's just going to jump straight up and then straight down. And that's when you kill him. If there's a soldier playing high ground or playing over here, wall it off to mitigate damage while you guys push through. Now, this is the only time I'd probably say where it gets a little bit tricky with Mei. You don't really have much value here with wall, mainly because it's hard to get like really good locations. But like I said, you can cut people off that are retreating to that mini over there by walling here. You can block off mitigate damage here, or here, or here. If you want to get risky, you can push up, right? And if they're coming out of spawn, like let's say you guys are capping, you just got some rolled kills. You're trying to deny them from being able to recontest the payload. You just push up to here. Listen to see which side they're coming out. If you don't hear anybody over here, yeah, let's say you don't hear any footsteps, but you hear footsteps coming over here, throw it up. Boom. Throw up that wall. They're not going to be able to get through. Actually, they might be able to. Hold on. Yeah, they might be able to get through. It's going to be harder, though. Right? They're going to have to go out here to recontest payload, which might be enough time for you guys to cap it. This endpoint's probably the least value you're going to get on Mei in NUMBANI. But that's what I'm saying. Get creative with your walls. There's so many platforms that people just don't realize that you can throw walls on. Right? I can throw it up here for a vertical wall to mitigate. I can throw it up here like that to cut off people that are on high ground so they can't go back to their room. I can throw it here for people peeking from in here to cut them out. Or just keep them from poking as well, to like trap them in there. You can wall people in here that are rotating through to cut them out here. You can block off soldier. You might be able to get a vertical wall to come out if you do this, right? This walls them out. If you can get up close enough, that keeps soldier from getting in the doorway. Maybe. No, that one does not. That one's gonna be way harder to hit, so I don't. That's why I usually just do horizontal walls to block out the damage. And then here as well, you can wall off high grounds like this. You can wall off people like that. People that are playing up here, you can wall them off like that. You see the thing on there. You can use it up here. But again, this is probably gonna be your best bets because the tanks. Those are where you're trying to wall out. Those is where you're securing kills on. So that is NUMBANI, everybody. That is NUMBANI.